As the first humans to ever venture out this far into the frontier.
Too fast! Extensive portside damage.
Get out!
I thought we were both goners.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the DX Camera Show. I'm Operation DX, and welcome to episode 27 of my Planet Explorers, version 0.72 Let's Play. During the previous episode, we continued working on our colony, and, well, big surprise. More of the same going on during this episode. We finished off by starting to fertilize the ground in our little gardening structure that we created, and during this episode, I'd like to get our garden planted, and then maybe towards the end of this episode, we'll go ahead and check on, see how our plants are going near Earth Camp, and see if we can complete that quest. It's actually starting to get a little too dark out here, so I'm just going to try to finish off the last parts of fertilizing this area. And because we don't have this area lit yet, and because we don't have just enough plastic to even do that, I'm going to go ahead and head back into the main colony hub and drop one of my beds and go ahead and sleep to bring the daylight back out. And then we'll go ahead and, well, we'll just plant some plants here, because that's what we need to do. We need some of those plant fibers for getting our colony beds. We'll need that for later, so that's probably one of the first things I'm going to want to plant. Food isn't a big issue right now, as we don't have any colonists coming to our colony at the moment, and I've got my food situation pretty much under control here, so it's not something I'm really going to need to focus on here in the first part, even though it does take a bit of time to get all the plants up and running, several days in game time, so it will take a few times of sleeping to get that kind of stuff running, and hopefully the plants in the Earth Camp have grown so we can get that going. Otherwise, we might have to do another kind of sleep session to try to make time go by quickly. There actually was a question in the comments that I don't know the answer to, and that was if the light or the daylight affects the plant's growth, whether it be faster or not, because we did plant the plants for the that quest inside of the jungle, and of course there's a lot of shadow and stuff, and it's not getting a ton of sunlight, so I don't know if that really directly affects how fast the plants grow, or if they have a set growth cycle, or however that works. It seems like they have kind of a set growth cycle. That from my observation kind of seems to be the case, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. Alright, so I'm going to make a couple of small additions here to our gardening structure, just to make it easier to get inside and out of it. And then I can make it look a little better later on, whether I want to make like walkways or put some of the colony structures near here. But it just makes it easier to get in and out, especially too for like if the animals come near this thing, they could just walk around it instead of like getting all pissed and attacking it and trying to break all the blocks and stuff, because that's just irritating having to replace those. Not really a huge deal though, because we did make this out of brick, so we can easily replace that because we have a bunch of crap ton of dirt. This part is actually going to be a little bit time consuming. I would like to get the enhancement buildings up pretty soon, if I can, possibly during the next episode. We'll see how that goes. There will be a little traveling here. We'll leave the colony and visit Earth Camp during the end of this episode, so we'll have to fly back. But fortunately, travel is no longer an issue. It only takes a couple of minutes to get from one location to the next, thanks to our air exploration vehicle. And I'm still kind of thinking or working on the video for showing the editor. I definitely want to do that, time permitting. As I expressed in the previous episode, there are some other videos that I definitely want to get to, because there's update videos that I'm neglecting, and I need to get those out. Alright, so going to kick our garden off with those plants I was talking about during the previous episode, the plants that are going to give us plant fiber, that is going to give us enough to construct those beds, because those colony beds actually require a lot of plant fiber, and if you're just to straight up mine those things, it is rather difficult to get a hold of a large quantity. This makes it just so much easier. at this stage of the game, inventory management starts to kind of become kind of like this crazy thing because we have so many different items to keep track of. We got all these different seeds and all this stuff we've been harvesting throughout the game, things to build, you know, some of your vehicles, and it's just kind of crazy how much stuff is in this game. Not that I'm complaining, but it would probably be helpful if there was a little more organized system to keep track of these kind of things. It already is pretty good, though, in my opinion, compared to other games where we have our resources in one tab, we have our equipment in another tab, and then we have just all of the stuff we're collecting. And then on top of that, the worst offender, I think, in this game is the replicator list. Because of, well, it looks like they tried to break it down into tabs to organize it, but as of this build of the game, those tabs are not working correctly, so it's really hard to like look through that big giant list you've collected throughout the entire game and try to find that one little thing you need. And as I expressed early on, it is organized in alphabetical order, but if you don't know the name of the thing you're looking for, you may be spending a bit of time looking through that list, scouring for that one thing that you need. I mean, I don't know how many times, like, where I'm looking for plastic, and I keep thinking P for plastic, and it's S for simple plastic, and it's like, oh man, geez, that just added like 2 minutes to my search time because I keep looking for the wrong thing, you know? Yeah. So I think that could use just a little bit of tweaking. Hopefully, I'm sure it will. I don't think it could remain that way because I can't be the only one with this logic of thinking about, yeah, it's a little tough to find what I'm looking for. Anyway, it looks like we've got a nice start here. One of the things I was talking about earlier, too, is we're going to run out of water really quickly. Even though we sat down by the water a few episodes back to like collect enough water for this very garden, I'm doing something that I don't think actually works. Like I said, it was more of an experimental type thing to see if I could just get away with watering the plants once. But I mean watering them twice, but like not having to water them during their second cycle, because there seems to be 2 cycles to the plant: the initial watering phase, and then the second phase where it wants water and pesticide. And it doesn't seem like, well, in this build of the game, that's definitely not functional, because I think we can even just water the plants one time. We don't have to water them the second time or water them twice, and they will grow to full plants without issue. Seemingly with their full benefits. Now, because these plants do give you a lot more resources than the core ones that you would harvest in the world, I can see how that kind of system could be tweaked and refined to where if you did, say, neglect the plant, you would get less of a harvest than you would if you just sat there and kind of babysat the garden. I've always liked gardening in games in general. I don't know, call me crazy. I've always been the kind of strategist kind of person, and I like the idea of survival and, having to do these things. And, like, I love that when they're mission critical kind of things. I mean, it's not super, super critical that you can do it. It's extremely convenient in this game when you do set up a garden, but you can go throughout the world. But I do love the idea of this game to where you're building this garden for future, populations, and you're setting up your base to like get your colony stabilized and get all the people on the planet stabilized, and they're going to come here and they're going to work in your location and stuff. And it would be nice if there's less babysitting. So like, as I'm talking about like before, like I love this part of the game, and I see so much potential in it, and it could be like just this like offshoot kind of strategy game within Planet Explorers, which is like an RPG kind of open world voxel thing. They could really do some massively cool stuff with the game, and we'll just kind of have to see how this all goes. It seems like right now the developers are really focusing on getting the multiplayer tightened up and all that stuff, and I appreciate that stuff, believe me. I'm the first one to complain when there isn't multiplayer stuff, but I would like to see some of these systems also focused on, and I would like to see this brought into more development, because like I already enjoy this game as it is, and if these things actually become more developed throughout, I'm just going to get more and more excited. And yep, I mean, what else can you say, really? I think this game has a huge potential at its current state. It's not quite there yet, obviously, but I think there's a lot of room for this game to be just so killer. Now, some of the questions in some of the comments during my playthrough of this series have been asking about modding the game, or is this game moddable? Even some of the live streamers that I watched when this game came out on Steam, asking for that very thing, or if I knew the game was moddable. Now, I think it is the intention of the developers to make this moddable, but because the in-game editor is so very powerful, it's almost like you have built-in mod tools in this game, and I think that's an awesome thing. Now, of course, they're probably thinking of modifying damage values on certain things, or building outright separate weapons, or separate fans that can make your ship go faster, or bigger fans, or things for your flying vehicles. I know what you mean by the modding of the game itself, but again, the editor is so powerful, I think that even that sort of thing may be possible to implement into the game, where you could modify the core parts, like the engines, maybe add some modules to it to make it a little more beefy, or that kind of thing. There's so much potential there. Okay, so we are flying off now. We're not done with colony stuff, don't worry. We're just checking on that quest, as I expressed earlier, just to see if those earth plants have grown yet. So I just want to check on that so we can possibly complete that quest. I like to get all this stuff, tied up, and this kind of fits in. We also want to kind of wait for some of the plants to grow. If I can get those plants to finish up during the next couple of episodes, maybe I can build the colony beds and have a more complete colony. I would like to build at least one more building, whether it be a bunker, barracks kind of thing, for where the colonists may stay if I decide to send them to the location. I'd like to at least get the base structure on before I start continuing the quests and stuff. And man, that seemed a little eerie, so it's kind of funny, as I mentioned earlier, when you get inside of the flying vehicle, all the sound is completely silent, so you can't hear the silence of the world. And, as I'm doing my commentation on this this episode, I definitely noticed the fact that there's no ambient noise, and I can just hear myself talking, so it's kind of funny. Alright, so again, here's more stuff that we can add to our inventory. She actually has a bunch of plants. I probably want some of the stuff, even though I don't need these particular plants. Mushrooms aren't just used for the black light pigment. They're actually used in several dishes. That's another thing too, is I think they could add some cooking mechanic to this game, not just replicate it, but you actually maybe could put these ingredients in something and cook it, and that would be kind of cool. Maybe it would add some benefits. That's another thing too, is because this game has that MMO feeling, it would be cool if some of these food items gave you bonuses like in a standard MMO, where if you were using your sword or whatever, you could do a damage bonus with that kind of stuff, or with your crafting or whatever, you can make maybe a little better weapon while you've eaten this food or whatever. Something like that would be pretty awesome. So unfortunately, since we are back at Earth Camp and the plants aren't quite finished yet, I'm just double-checking the shop, getting some of the plants that I missed last time, maybe a couple of the crafting recipes that I missed during the last time I actually came to this location. So what I am going to end up doing is what I said what I was going to do in the beginning of this episode, is I'm going to set up a bed and go ahead and let time pass and see if we can get those plants to finish. It actually doesn't even look like those plants have gotten to their second phase, where we actually have to apply some of the pesticide to it. And also, I didn't check in the new version of the game, 0.75, if you can in fact craft the pesticide, because even though the character told us earlier that she gave us the pesticide for completing the quest, that is not something that is in the game at this time. So that's something I'm going to have to double check on for sure. Well, I guess there's nothing really left to do but to go ahead and just make time pass here. So when these plants do actually get to the second phase, I don't think I'm going to bother buying the pesticide off the character to actually bring these into the second phase, because as I expressed, this isn't really a functional part of the game. Another thing I'm actually kind of curious about, and I haven't I don't think I've discovered a plant that actually gives us resin, because that would really make things a lot easier on us. I'm not sure if you can get resin from any of the particular types of plants that would make building things like simple plastic and the lights and all the microprocessors, especially the higher tier processors that require a bit more plastic. Because right now, I think the best place to get the resin, other than possibly some trees in the desert biome, is to just cut down those archway trees. And unfortunately, that's kind of time-consuming. Okay, so here you can see that this garden actually hit the second phase, and you can see the little bug icon above the water icon telling us that this is the time that we need to apply the pesticide stuff. But I'm actually not going to do that. Anyway, that's going to wrap things up for this episode, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a great day, and take care.